Wave Melody Beats.
If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. And that simple statement is the key to science. It doesn't make a difference how beautiful your guess is. It doesn't make a difference how smart you are who made the guess or what his name is. If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong.
Yeah, look, they said that I couldn't do it, so I went and did it. W's only, you know I've been winning. Top of the world, the globe is spinning. If you know, I've been on a mission. Go. Okay, let's get it. Got a little time on my hands like a wristwatch. I don't got time for the breaks and the pit stop. Race through the gridlock, take it like Chris Rock. Right to the chin, still win. Heavy metals like Slipknot. Got the driving, I got tunnel vision. I just hit my stride the way I run the business. I've been making paper like I'm Dunder Mifflin. See the end game, I got one division. Look, I don't ever bother with a critic. Hit him with a chronicle of Riddick. Boom, bottle full of Ritalin. I hit him with a little bit of riddle me this, riddle me that. My bad, fell asleep at the gas. No time to wait though. Elon Musk, I'm trying to bankroll. New Tesla just cause I say so. Electric whip like Ivan Van Gogh. I just did it. W's only, you know I've been winning. Top of the world, the globe is spinning. If you know, I've been on a mission. Okay, let's get it.
I've been on a mission like totally spice. I'm a baddie, she bad, but she totally nice. Nails are blue and her toes feel like white. They completely match out at the soul for my leg. He knew it for sure, but he left with a
What is up, party people? It's been a long time, huh? It's been a while since I live stream. Sorry, I apologize. Had a very busy last week. So I'm here today with a lot to talk about. As you guys know, my curiosity with young Earth creationists has been going on, and it has only gotten stronger now. As you see in the title, I've been reading and listening to a lot of people talk about this idea that the Bible is a book of science. Now, I'm going to be honest, and I've been honest about this whole little journey of young Earth creationists that I've ran into. I don't know very much about this. I don't at all. But the little bits that I've gotten have confused me because there's certain aspects of things that I didn't even know about, and didn't think about, I guess. As you guys know, I told you I do not believe in a creator, not even a little bit. But there are things that definitely put me in a different category of belief. I could believe in a God if something was compelling enough. I don't understand how that all works. I just don't understand and don't believe there is one. But that's probably more because I just don't understand enough about it, or I don't know. But I know I'll never be young Earth. I know that. I do know if you're trying to convert me, that's not going to be the one that's going to do it. I also wanted to talk about today some more of the Will Duffy final experiment things going on. Not sure if you guys are living under a rock. Most of you didn't. I was pretty happy with the views I got on it. I was listening to the Duffy Whitsitt interview, and they talked about everything that everyone keeps asking about, right? Because this has been like the long-awaited interview. I was actually really surprised before I put this upload out that no one had actually knew the Duffy Whitsitt thing was going on, or even if they did, hadn't even watched it. I don't understand why. Mainly because, as far as I was concerned, give me 1 second. As far as I was concerned, sorry, I'm kind of doing something in the background. I'll do that in a second. As far as I was concerned, everyone, these are all the Globers, have been jumping all over flat earthers about who's going to go and why hasn't Whitsitt said yes or no yet. So when that happened and no one had watched it or knew what Whitsitt had said, it was very odd to me. If you have been living under that fucking rock I always talk about, Whitsitt did give an answer. I'm gonna go ahead and play part of that, and then we'll go into what I think needs to happen. If you haven't seen it yet, I put a poll in the chat. Do that poll, because that poll, to me, is everything that has to do with what I'm about to talk about right after this video. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this up. All right, here we go.
Open to. So I will say, tentatively, yes, is my position right now. Obviously, for me, in conclusion, the most important thing is I need to pray about it, and I do feel that the Creator answers prayers and will give you signs and will help you know what He wants you to do. I think He speaks through His Word. I think that He will give you discernment and wisdom, and so I was holding off on this before truly seeking the answer that way, and that will be my first step. And then obviously talking to my family, who, Kai feels the same way I do. She trusts my discernment, she trusts my wisdom, and we trust the Creator in terms of protection. So I don't really foresee that being an obstacle, but those are the two things that are still on the table that I could change how I feel. But yeah, there you go. That's kind of how I am right now. Like I will need like kind of these definitive in writing things. And I think everyone should agree on that. And then as long as I don't as long as I'm like the creator's like, no, don't go, or something like that, or something serious happened with my family, then I'm down to go. Me, you, Jaren, Dave, I don't care who else goes. And then we fully document everything. I know a lot of people like right here, Austin, don't go. Austin, don't go, for God's sake. I'm Admiral Akbar. It's a trap. I don't, I would like to think, because I'm being very tactical about my appearances and stuff like right now. By the time December comes around, if I die on this trip, I don't really think that people are going to think it's a coincidence. I don't think so. I really don't. So it is what it is. Like I said, that's my position, just so you know. Like I'll pray about it. I'll say tentatively yes. I'm not scared. I'm down to do it. I want to know the truth. I'm down to call the bluff at the least, because people always seem to back out. And then obviously if I say I'm going to go, I'm not going to back out last minute. So there you go. That's my position. I know it's not a definitive answer. I don't know if that's what you were hoping for right now, but
no, it's good. Yeah, it's good. So just for everybody's knowledge, Critical Think in the live chat is going with us. Another guy named Leonard is going with us. He's self-funded. Candace Owens is still on the table, so she and I are communicating. Alex Stein is still on the table. So yeah, I think there's going to be quite a big group of us. So we're all going to be on the same plane doing the same thing.
Okay, that's cool. More people, the better. I would say the more people that are more along the Candace Owens and Alex Stein side of things is better. But
yeah,
cool.
All right, thanks, man.
Yeah. Sorry, I know it's.
All right, so that's it. It was a yes, but God has to say yes. I think more importantly was the fact that Austin said he wants to have things in writing, et cetera, which is obviously I don't think anybody's disagreeing with that being an issue at all. So as you saw in the poll question was, is it now time to press Duffy? Because I've been saying this for a fucking minute now. It's good and all that people think that Duffy's 100% honest and all that stuff. It's weird because there are sketchinesses to it. More importantly, this isn't a new thing. This isn't something that's just started. This isn't the first time, or even the second time, or even the third time, or even the fourth or fifth time someone come into the community and basically pronounce that they had this gonna solve it all type situation. It's happened so many fucking times. I mean, what do you believe now? So to me, there is a reason for discernment. There's a reason for people to assume that there may be something going afoot. It may be just like a grift thing. I don't know. Here's the thing. I hope it happens. I have confidence that it's going to happen, but I also have logical reasoning to understand that this has been going on before. And there's a great chance, just like any of the other ones, that this isn't going to happen. And one of the biggest factors of this is literally this. Is Duffy going to put a deposit down and reserve the spots so we know it is actually going to happen? Oh, that hurt. So we know it actually is going to happen. Because remember, Duffy's already stated before that regardless of the 24 on that list, he has Flat Earthers more than willing to go. I know Flat Earth is more willing to go. I know Dan said he's willing to go. A bunch of people on Earth Awakening said they'd go. It's literally just they're handpicking. So, but here's the thing. Whitsitt, Jaren, McKeegan, who is probably the only real pointless one going. Duffy, who didn't say in that interview with Whitsitt that he wasn't going. Whitsitt has made it clear that if you want me to go, you're going to go too. Doesn't even make sense that Duffy ever once said he may not go. That was what threw red flags up for me the very first, because he said it in my interview. You don't know that one? Go check it out in my video, in my live streams. I interviewed him, and he said that there was a chance he wasn't going to go. And I even said to him, that's ridiculous. This is your experiment. Why would you not go? If anything, so, and I've said that before. So when it comes down to what I'm saying is all the pressure for flat earthers. What's up, Gigi? I see you out there. One of the main things that was going on was Globers were pressuring flat earthers to commit to what if and all these other aspects of the final experiment. I feel it's now time for everyone, flat earth and globe, to press Duffy, because now all the puzzles are there, all the pieces are there. He just has to put them together now. So now interviews, yes, obviously he's going to still be doing those, but instead of having those little meme hit piece things he does on his final experiment, now it's time to start seeing serious things, right? I've got a yes from everybody. This is me putting a deposit down. This is me putting reservations for whoever is absolutely committed, etc. Let's start seeing those puzzle pieces put together, is what I'm saying. If you disagree with me, you disagree with me. I don't know why you would, but that's how I feel about it. And I feel that my view on it is probably the most non-biased, logical way of thinking from the way I've heard about it. There are some other things I wanted to play pertaining to that interview that happened. Let me see what this next one is. Next one is okay. So this was what Witsit was saying. If they go down there and there is a 24-hour sun, his line of thinking, what it would be. This one isn't too long.
As we understand, on a flat Earth, if you go south, you
got to share it first, Sean. Let's see. Oh, there we go.
As we understand, on a flat Earth, if you go south, you can't just keep going and come back to where you started. On a globe, you should be able to theoretically just keep going, just like.
All right. Then the third point you brought up is just
all that. But I will say, so just to, well, obviously the elephant in the room here is like, oh, so what are you going to say if you see it? What are you going to think? I would say, wow, I didn't expect to see that. That matches the globe prediction. Certainly, if it did exactly what the globe says, and I would have to step back and reassess everything. I don't. Apparently, people are frustrated with Jaron. I don't know what he has or hasn't said, but I will definitely say right now, I wouldn't just immediately pretend the Earth's a globe. That wouldn't happen. And that's because of the preponderance of evidence against it. But it definitely would be very interesting and unexpected, and it would make me step back and reconsider things. So there's kind of my take on that. I guess and as far as we understand,
so it's the same thing we're hearing. Definitely a little different from Jaron. Jaron is very adamant about if it's there is a 24-hour sun, flat Earth doesn't work. Excuse me, flat Earth doesn't work. So because of that, a lot of flat earthers have taken a lot of issue with that. Right? There's obviously this huge line drawn in the sand with flat Earth between the we'll have to rethink it and it changes everything, right? I think at best what we're going to see now would possibly be just the cutting out the AE map. Problem is that we use the AE map. The AE map is something that globe uses, so it's still usable. But for flat Earth, in my opinion, it should be null and void, right? It should be something that's not even discussed anymore. Just my opinion. That's how I feel about it. But as you know, because of this whole final experiment thing, and diving into who the fuck Will Duffy is, that's how I found out about Young Earth creation, and that's why I want to do this live stream, because there are talking points about creation. And one of the things that I've learned in the whole conspiracy minded idea of all this is that it's important to try to get both sides idea of how things work. then to compare and use that against my understanding. The problem is this. When I look, because I'm looking at one right now, when I look at a creationist website that is giving me information about these things, I I am coming from a biased place. I feel non-biased about things, but it's very odd doing this because when I'm reading it, I'm trying to figure out what is bullshit and what's not. One of the things, and I'll go ahead and start. Let me share the screen so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And one of the things is this. Um, this is the young Earth, or the 6 biblical evidences for young Earth. I'm only copying it because I gotta put it down here, otherwise I can get a copyright strike. So hang on, give me a second. Okay, so it's a young Earth creationist website. I'm not gonna play the video, but here's a few of the things that, and young Earth creation backs their claims, or they say backs their claims. Now, one of the big things, this is one of the biggest, right? And this is going to sound weird and probably irritate some flat earthers. But when I was a flat earther, I believed in dinosaurs. I stopped calling them dinosaurs because in the flat earth, it's a bad thing. I started calling them ancient animals. It made it so much easier to have the conversation. But more importantly, dinosaurs were real. I understood that the early dinosaur era was a lot of BS and a lot of bullshit going on. I understand that. I understand that there's a lot of fake dinosaurs that went around. I understand that. More importantly, with dinosaurs, is I understand that for a very long period of time, there were dinosaurs that were put into museums based on a tooth, based on a rib, based on something so minuscule that there's no way you could possibly construct a whole dinosaur around it. And what ended up happening, and this is all mainstream, guys can look this up. What ended up happening is dinosaurs that were in museums that were then discovered, fossil evidence of full dinosaurs were found, and they were put into question on whether or not the construction of what they had was correct versus what they recently had found. T-Rex is a perfect example of this. T-Rex used to be twice as big as anything you'll see in a museum, and this has actually happened a few times with the T-Rex. Another situation was they found what they thought was a full-grown T-Rex, and this full-grown T-Rex was maybe no bigger than a school bus. It was very small comparatively to what a T-Rex is shown to us, right? Smaller than a school bus. But what ended up happening is they figured out after finding more that it was a juvenile. So it obviously gotten a little bit bigger than it was, but it by no means was it what we saw in Jurassic Park. That is like a hyped up version of it. A lot of dinosaurs that we are shown didn't quite have the same size, appearance, etc. Velociraptors are a perfect example. Those are very small, nothing like in Jurassic Park. Get those things out of your head. I digress. Okay, so with that being said, I understand that a lot of the dinosaur lore that goes on in the early stages was absolutely far-fetched, not known so much. But then as time goes on, you have to compile that evidence that shows, hey, this works that way. What's up, Flow State? Let's see you out there. So when I started looking into young Earth creationists, the first thing that I heard about, and this was one of the things Duffy had said to me, was that people walked with dinosaurs. There is some truth to that, I guess, in the sense that our alligators and crocodiles are dinosaurs. I mean, I know they're not dinosaurs; they're ancestors of, but I could see those being stipulations that worked in those situations, but only so much. But young Earth creationists, some of them, because I talked to another one, and they don't. Some of them don't think that at all. Nerd, you're fucking crazy, man. Put that up. I like that one. Okay, so one of the things that I first came up with, or found when after hearing this dinosaurs walked with people thing, is the reasons why and how a young Earth creationist would say that dinosaurs walked with people. First thing I had to understand is that that they only think the Earth is 6,000 to 12,000 years old, which then puts everything into question, right? Let me see. Because when I read this, and you can see it on the screen, it says soft tissues of biomolecules and fossils. Now, to me, that confused the fuck out of me because I have always had the understanding that the way they date fossils is different methods of dating, and carbon dating is one of those. Carbon dating is one of those things that only has a certain shelf life, decay rate. So I think if I remember correctly, it's somewhere between 20 to 50,000 years old. 50,000 years is what carbon dating can date to. Now, I'm no type of genius. So when I try to explain this, I'm not going to give you details of it, but there are probably that I know 50 different methods of dating that have a much slower decay rate. So, for instance, if carbon dating can only date organic matter that is between or 0 to 50,000 years, then the other ones can go much further. I think there are ones that do 1,000,000 years, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that they don't acknowledge those things. But this right here threw me for a small loop because I didn't understand it. Gigi says, have you ever seen The Ark in the Darkness? I have not. There's a YouTube link, throw it in the chat. Otherwise, actually, no, hang on, let me do this. I will write it down because I would like to know what that is. Yes, I am old school. I still write everything down. I will look into that. Okay, perfect. Hey, there you go, nerd. It says C14 half-life is about 5,700 years to 25,000 years as a particle limit. Sounds plausible. Okay, thanks for that. Star dinosaur. Okay, so this is what I saw that was in question. Soft tissues and biomolecules and fossils. Soft tissue and decay, sensitive biomolecules that are still inact and not degraded shouldn't exist in fossils that are supposedly millions of years old, but they do. The most famous case is evolutionary enigma, was the discovery of soft, stretchy tissue in the bones of a T-Rex, along with the visible blood vessels, blood cells inside the vessels, and bone cells with duplicate or delicate fingers like projections called blah, 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 blah. Okay, so when I read this, the first thing on my mind was bullshit. There's no way they could find fucking tissue in a fossil. Doesn't make sense. Most of you guys know the petrification. There is the fossilization, but in all these situations, even the top scientists of the time had stated that even in the best conditions, there's no way that soft tissue could survive millions of years. Then I found this. Wait, where is it? Oh, it's on another screen. Give me 1 second. I did not save it. Okay, so this is what I think this was the one that was behind a stupid paywall. Maybe not. Okay, so this is then what blew my mind because they did. They actually did find this. Apparently, the blood cells, fossils. Now, mind you, they didn't find the blood vessels. They didn't find blood cells. They didn't find. I don't know. See, I don't know about the soft tissue one, but the other ones I know for a fact they didn't find that. This is exactly what you would see when they did these tests. This is what they tested. Says nearly dressed in blue copyright pants. All right, that's pointless. After 68 million years in the ground, this is the T-Rex found in Montana was dug up. Its leg bone was broken in pieces and fragmented, where dissolved in acid in Schlettinger's laboratory in North Carolina. Blah blah blah. It was big news indeed last year when Schlesinger announced she had discovered blood vessels in structures that looked like a whole cell inside the T-Rex bone, the first observation of its kind. The find amazing catalogs would had been imagined that an ever trace in soft tissue dinosaur or soft dinosaur tissue could survive. After all, as any textbook will tell you, when an animal dies, soft tissue such as blood vessels, muscles, and skin decay and disappear over time, while hard tissues like bone may generally acquire minerals from the environment and become fossilized. One of the first scientists to use the tools of modern cell biology to study dinosaurs has unearthed the controversial wisdom by showing that some rock hard fossils, 10 millions of or hard fossils, tens of millions of years old, may have remnants of soft tissue hidden away in their interiors. Now, my question to anyone in the chat that could probably help me out with this, if this is the only dinosaur that this has been found with, could it just be a situation of the lesser of the time scale and a new idea of what a perfect conditions actually is, right? Because that would be what changes. It just being the perfect conditions for the situation. Gigi says, taking into account what you're digging into, you should watch it. Link provided. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Gigi. I appreciate that. Where is it? I will save that so I can watch it. And here's also a fun part. I have actually uncovered not a dinosaur. I've uncovered woolly mammoth before. I think about 20 years ago now in Chula Vista, San Diego. Actually, it wasn't in the newspaper, but the finding was. Okay, so back to what we were talking about. So does that give credence to? So what I was saying, if only one has been found, does that give credence to it being evidence for the young Earth creationists? That's my question to it because it's weird to me. That is possible, especially because, like it said in textbooks, that's what we read. We've always read that, we wouldn't find it. Because my next question is this that I just thought about: if we found soft tissue, shouldn't we then be able to 100% be able to clone dinosaurs? '91, Slinger was trying to study thin slices of bone from a 65 million year old T Rex. She was having a hard time getting the slices to stick to the glass slide, so she sought help from a molecular biologist at the university. The biologist, Gray Callius, happened to take the slides to a veterinarian conference where she set up the ancient samples for others to look at. That doesn't sound very scientific at all. One of the vets went up to Callis and said, "Do you know you have red blood cells in that bone?" Sure enough, under the microscope, it appeared that the bone was filled with red discs. Later, Senda recalls, I looked at this and I looked at this and I thought, this can't be. Red blood cells can't be preserved. Schlesinger showed the slide to Horner. When she first found the red blood cells looking structures, I said, yep, that's what they look like. Her mentors recalls he thought it was possible that the red blood cells, but he gave her some advice. Now see if you can find some evidence to show that that's not what they are. What she found instead was evidence of hemum in the bones, additional support for the idea that there were red blood cells. Hemum is a part of the hemoglobin, the protein that carries oxygen into the blood and gives the red blood cells their color. It got me real curious as to the potential preservation, she said. If particles of one of these dinosaurs were able to hang around for 65 billion years, maybe the textbooks were wrong about fossilization. Yeah, see, that doesn't make much sense. Does? So, yeah, is that in question of? See, I don't think it's a question of how fossilization works because we understand how fossilization works. It's just, I think what needs to be understood is um, the preservation aspect of it. But see, then if that's the case, wouldn't there be a situation by now where we're able to replicate a preservation condition that could do that? Because it just seems so. Let's move on to the second one. Ancient microbial recurrences. Since the 1990s, this is creationist, so everyone knows we've moved on from the actual science one. Since the mid 1900s, scientists have isolated and characterized more than 1,200 ancient microorganisms extracted from fossils found in amber. The amber fossils finds include 9 ancient yeats, 4 of which are bears' yeats that were patented and yet used to commercially brew beer. What the fuck? By scientists who discovered them. The amber extracted microbials were thought to be up to 40 million years old. So wait, if that's the case, I don't know if that's true. Let's find out. I'll just type in 40 million year old yeast. Tell microbiologist Roy successfully revived yeast that had been stuck in amber for 25 million years. He then co-founded a brewery that used the same 45 million year old species of yeast to brew beer. Okay, so if that's the case, then why is the decaying rate of microorganisms in question if we know that in, say, an amber, this is possible? That's what I'm confused about. Best condition is that, then how is it that maybe it's just the blood vessels, the blood cells that are definitely an issue? There's another one. Researchers have discovered what appears to be remnants of red blood cells and collective tissue in 75 million year old dinosaur fossil. Nerd, are you in the chat? What is the decay rate, or how long do our blood cells and tissue supposed to only last? And if it only lasted 25 million years, then how is he using a 45 million year old species? Okay, so was the yeast strain? Okay, so this is the hard part because this is a creationist site. It says yeast strains were revived by Raul at California Polytechnic State University, who has awakened many other ancient yeast strains and bacteria. Wait a minute. Okay, so does young Earth creation? Do they just see? I'm so confused because if how is there different strands of yeast different from what we have now, but the yeast we have now dates back uh, at least as far back as Earth being created. But then that's the other. Okay, so Judy, when you say that, says she says it's hard. It's not hard at all. Just read the Bible and believe what God said. Okay, if I were to go back on what I've read, very little, but what I've heard and been sourced to, the Bible doesn't talk about this stuff at all. It doesn't talk about the dating methods, how old things are, um, how like the science behind it, which is kind of why I was confused in the title of this is about the Bible being a scientific book, because from what I've seen and heard, it doesn't depict anything scientific. It's kind of like what's it called? I don't want to. It's not. It's like a story time, but it's not story time. See, I don't remember what it's called. Spoken word. Yes, I'm sorry. It'd be more of a spoken word, and the spoken word, as far as I would think, isn't a science. Um, Now, see, in the young Earth creation way of discounting the 45 million year account, something like, however, uh, if the amber deposits were a result of Noah's flood, which I still haven't seen evidence for a world flood, then they would all date only 4,350 or so years ago. Finding live revivable yeast after this length of time is much more plausible than the evolutionary assignment age of 45 million years. See, that's right there. That discount. Hang on, this one right here. This was the one that weirds me out a little bit. Finding live revivable yeast after this length of time is much more plausible. But the problem is the yeast that we had 4,000 years ago is basically the same yeast we have now, and wouldn't be a different strain, wouldn't be a different species. I don't think. There are 1,000 recognized yeast species today. Yeast can reproduce sexually and asexually. Didn't that go against what they think too? Okay, of those 1,000 recognized species of yeast, do those date back 10,000 years? Because I know 10,000 years ago we were harvesting yeast and stuff. Oh, okay. Okay, so brewer's yeast. And I wonder, I don't know. That's kind of confusing. That the yeast. Let's see. Brewer's yeast. Yes, it is a species of yeast. That's crazy. Let's see. God has provided. God has provided the basic direction for our research on the visceral issue, and this passage clearly informs us that the unique process during two belief periods of history. Let's see what that one says. Let's see what Peter. Because I don't know what any of these things you guys are saying is, so I want to know. Your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as an elaborate hairstyle. Okay. Is this the right one? I hope it's the right one. Your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as elaborate hairstyles and the wearing of gold and or fine clothes. Rather, it should be that of your inner self, the unfolding beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, in which one great worth in God's sight. For this may be the way of the holy women of the past who put their hopes in God, used to adorn themselves. They submitted themselves to their own husbands, like Sarah, who obeyed Abram, and called him her Lord. You are her daughters if you do what is right and do not give way to fear. So basically, that Robert, that's like saying superficial. Wait, what is Second Peter? I don't know what that means. Oh, that says First Peter, right? If I'm wrong, correct me. Okay. Above all, you must understand that in the last days, scorners will come or scoffing and follow their own evil desires. They will say, where is this coming? He promised. Ever since our ancestors died, everything goes on as it has since the beginning of creation. All the above, you must understand that in the last days, scoffers will. The issue I see there, and this is my interpretation of what I'm reading, is it's saying that when God created everything, what we have now is everything that God created. But if that's the case, where are either the things that we found that don't exist now, and where are we that exist now further back than them? I guess would be my question. I saw you put another link in there. Let me see what that link is. And thank you guys for being here for this. I know it's pretty slow, but this one is kind of confuses me. So I kind of want to take you guys down this thinking path of how this works because I would really like to understand what the heck's going on. But Gigi, so that confuses me because I have always understood from what I've heard about it is that these are the interpret like when someone reads the Bible, and I've seen this, I've heard it. When people read the Bible, they interpret it in their own way. So that's why there are different ideas of how the Bible works. I've even heard this with Bible literalists. A good example would be: do you believe that people and dinosaurs walk together? Because there are Bible literalists that do believe dinosaurs walked with people, whereas most don't. Don says, I gotta remember what screen I'm on. Some cool ancient age of Earth evidence, Ocala natural nuclear reactor, back when the fuck? So confused. Rock can be made from molecules and water, nerd. Reach over. Was that the one you put in earlier, Gigi? I saw you put something, Job something. Let me see if I can. Oh, there it is. Let's see. Make sure it's the right one. Okay. Look at Behemoth when I made, which I made along with you, and which feeds on grass like an ox. What strength it has in its loins, what power in the muscles of its belly, its tail sways like a cedar. Uh, the sinews of the thighs are close knit, its bones are tube of bronze, its limbs like rods of iron. That one confuses me completely. I don't know what I'm reading right now. What I made along with you, and which feeds on the grass like an ox. What strength it has in its loins, what the power in its muscles of its belly. Its tail sways like a cedar. Is this describing a dinosaur? This is, or is this what he's described? Is this what is taken as the description of one? But what does that mean? I don't understand. Tail as cedar. I don't. Because we are taking everything literally, the bones are made of literal bronze, a man-made copper alloy. Yeah, that's kind of like what's confusing me a lot right now. It's not so much that it's okay. So it'd be like a brontosaurus, if anything, right? Because I made this along you. So this would be the walked with people part. And I'm sorry, I'm just trying to I'm trying to break it down. Um, so this would be the part where the dinosaurs walked with us. Um, which feeds on the grass like an ox. So it's not like a T Rex. So that's why I said like a brontosaurus type animal. Um, Behemoth. So it's big, really big. Um, what strength it has in its loins, I think that's kind of not a really good descriptive. The what power it in the muscles of its belly. So we obviously are depicting a very strong animal, very big, very strong animal that eats grass. And then tail sways like see. Okay, that part confuses me. Let's see something. Okay, yeah. See, the point out of that the behemoth metal moveth its tail like a cedar. This they say indicates what the behemoth is most likely to a arthropod dinosaurs such as a dilithopod or a brachiosaurus. A dinosaur with a long neck. Okay. Okay. Making more sense now. Sinews of the thighs are close knit. Kind of like okay, like a kangaroo-ish, legs are close. Absolutely, I promise I will. How long is it? Is it a very long one? Yeah, let me see something. It's not very long. I wouldn't mind watching it. But Arc of the Arc in the Darkness. Oh, it's 2 hours. Okay, then it is not a live stream thing. Its bones. Okay, okay. This is important. Its bones are tubes of bronze. What about that part? And its limbs like okay, so its limbs like rods of iron. That part I don't question too much. That just sturdy, which it would need to be. But its bones are tubes of bronze. That part is kind of the part that I don't understand. Can you watch movies on Rumble? Because I'm live on Rumble. If anyone Doesn't matter because if you're listening on YouTube. But if you are listening on Rumble, welcome. Does Rumble let you watch movies and stuff? I'd watch that later on tonight. That'd be pretty badass. All right. Yeah, so look at a behemoth, which I made along with you, and which feeds on the grass like an ox. Yeah, I mean, I don't really. There's not really an explanation for what else that could have mean besides, but I think it means dinosaur too. Now, I have another question, and that would feed off of this. Um, where does the Bible state how old Earth is? If we stepped away from the literal interpretations for a moment, bronze was well known for its strength, so it makes more sense as a okay. So the same way that, like nerves, so like what you're saying is the same way they described its limbs like a rod of iron. Its bones are tubes of bronze would just be the same descriptor. That would make more sense to me when it comes to that part. Okay, yeah. But then see, is there, because I feel like even I understand that a Bible literalist is doing so, but isn't a Bible literalist still having to interpret it their way? Or is that why there are pastors and stuff that do this? There is no verse anywhere in the Bible that says this. The Bible does not give a date for the creation of earth. It does not even seem to care what the date may have been. Okay, that's even better. Okay, the 6,000-year-old comes from the Irish bishop named James Usher, who lived in the 1581 to. Oh, okay. So then, is a Bible literalist dating how old this creation is as a false dichotomy? Because now I'm even more confused. Genealogy. If it's okay, good idea. The Bible does not explicitly state the age of the earth, but some say that the Bible's genealogical records and the Genesis 1 account of creation can be used to estimate an age of around 6,000 years. Others say that the Bible doesn't provide enough information to be concerned or certain. The Bible scholars who have tried to calculate the Earth's age have come to different conclusions. For example, in the 17th century, Theopalagoa calculated the Earth's age to be between 5,600 and 5,700 years old, while Erebus and blah, blah, blah calculated. But what were their methods of calculation? Some say the Bible's genealogical disease doesn't allow for an unlimited amount of time between Adam and Abraham, and that the Old Testament is more concerned with the fact that the fact of creation than the time of creation. Others say the Bible's 6 days of creation may refer to vast periods of time, not days as we know them. It seems the Bible would argue a young Earth. Man added many years to Earth's history, in my opinion. But see, that's what confuses me because Robert, man also diminished the amount of time in history, right? Um, Science states millions, where these men that we're looking at, in this little thing right here, these men tried to date it at 6,000 or less. And if the Bible doesn't state that, then why is dinosaurs being millions of years old? Why is Earth being millions? The universe being billions of years? Why is that in question? Science, definitely science. Scientism would be um, like a fixed view of how science should be, and not skewing from that at all. I would think that the guys um, that are listed in here would have done scientism. That's what's confusing me. Now I'm even more confused because if there is no date, and I 100% understand like what you were saying, Gigi, and he said because it's not important. It's really not. I kind of feel like any conversation to do with religion isn't important. Let me explain. Because I believe that religion, by and by, is a wonderful thing. I know a lot of religious people, my brother being one of them, who I'm close with. Um, he he is adamant that there's a God. It made him a better person. Beyond that, that's his faith, right? That's your faith. That we're talking about, and your interpretation of your faith is no one else's problem or opinion or thing to opinionate on. So when I read, when I'm in these discussions and the age of the earth, for instance, becomes into question, is there actual proof or that's not good? Is there actual evidence for 6,000 years or is it just what these guys are saying? And millions of years could be possible. The entire Bible points to one thing: Christ. What you decide about externally is all that, or internally is all that matters. Yeah, I think 100% think religion, as far as I can see it being, is a self thing. Um, if I remember correctly, preaching outside the church, no, I forget what it was, but it was kind of like one of those things where it's supposed to be a self faith, and your pastors and et cetera are the ones that spread the word, and you kind of just like fear people towards their teachings. I think that's how it works, right? But I've always thought that if that religion itself, it's odd that people have these debates about it because it's one of those things that uh, kind of doesn't concern others, right? It's kind of your thing. That's how I look at it, at least. All right, let's see if we can go down the list and another one. Degeneration of the human genome. Contrary to popular evolutionary dogma, I love when they say that, the human genome is actually degrading over time. It's dissolving, not evolving. At the beginning of creation, Adam and Eve's genomes would have been pristine with no errors. They both fell into sin and brought a curse upon creation, causing increasing amounts of DNA decay and progressive loss of genetic information and successful or successive generations of their offsprings. The degeneration is due to the multiple slightly harmful mutations that occurred during each generation, and the accumulation rate of these genetic alterations is an event of a human origin in argument with biblical chronological of about 6. Okay, so the 6,000 year thing again. So do I just discount the 6,000 year stuff? Highly intelligent. Why rely on what man says about it? Why not read the Bible? Um, to be honest, Gigi, I worry that my interpretation will be wrong. Ultimately, that's why I ask a lot of questions and want to figure this out. Because again, like I just don't. When I read that, when we were talking about the dinosaur part, it took me at least what 6 times a rework to re-go over it and over it over it to kind of understand what it's trying to say. Um, that would be by and by the worry that I have would just stop, asking and just go read it. Because what if my interpretations are completely different from others, and then I got to rethink that again? And if I had like a base understanding of what these things mean, it'd be easier to put them together. Now, when it comes to this, I don't think I agree with this. The contrary to popular, the human genome actually is degrading over time. I feel like we're getting stronger, faster, bigger. If you put, and this is micro, this is just anecdotal. The people today in sports, right? Um, People, no, fuck that. I don't even have to. People worldwide, even with more diseases and more et ceteras going on, more wars, more technology, still have longer lives. I would say that a genetic, one of the human aspects of the human genome, the genetic traits that we have acquired over this evolutionary process would be longevity, the light, longer life, healthier life. Um, a lot of that has to do with medicine, but at the same time, I think that is an evolutionary process of the brain. So, in that sense, I do think that it's basically one of those things that lost track of what I was going to say. Hang on. Okay, I remember now. I think it's one of those things that is definitely not true. It's the human genome is not degrading. I can't speak on the Adam and Eve part, but I will say this: if Adam and Eve were to be the first, they would have the most pristine. But the problem with that is this: if Adam and Eve were the first, and their offsprings are us, in that aspect, this statement is true. Because unfortunately, we know that if a genome, a gene pool, a family, a bloodline were to constantly breed with each other, and this happens in nature. This is why in nature, um, young, yeah, fuck it, the juveniles get pushed away from the herds or the groups. It stops interspecies breeding. It stopped because what happens is that is a degrade in and the genome. We do see a side effects, so to speak, disadvantaged mutations is a better way of saying it, in incest. So, in the statement of if Adam and Eve were the ones that started it, and we are of Adam and Eve, then in that sense, yes, the human genome would degenerate. It would be the lesser. It would constantly be worse and worse over time. the fact that it's not that way, the fact that we are stronger, live longer, etc., to me says that our DNA, our gene pool, our genetic makeup is actually getting better. Um, I don't see it being any other way, and that would also mean, under these biblical stances of how this works, that would also mean that at a certain point we will be gone. Our genetic makeup will dissolve to nothing. Um, I don't think that is what a creator would have set forth. So that's another situation of my interpretation of things being not correct. Let's see, I don't even know that word, so I'm not even going to try. Unchanged living fossils. This is a good one. Um, Creatures like jellyfish, gropletoids, horseshoe crabs, uh, cotyledons, which is basically like shelled. Um, how could so many of these type creatures remain so unchanged during the alleged million years at abrupted or attributed evolution? Called living fossils, a term coined by Darwin. They formed discontinuous fossil sequences that are in that they appear suddenly in the fossil record without any evolutionary predecessors, disappear and apparently go extinct, and yet are still living today. Okay, just in that statement that I find issues because one aspect of this is the you know being found out of nowhere, going extinct, and then still being around. That is just a process of finding them, not finding them, and then seeing that they still live. That could just be a change in habitat. That could just be a change in uh, habitat and basically just being found. Technology, um, finding something in the ocean prior to 50 years ago was nearly impossible. Okay, Gigi. Does the Bible state Adam's age? Does it? Let me just ask. The Bible does not explicitly state the. Okay, I see. My bad. All right. A third son, Seth, is born to Adam and Eve. Adam had other sons and daughters. Genesis 5 listed Adam's uh, descendants from Seth to Noah with their ages at birth of their first sons and their ages at death. Adam's age at death is given. Genesis 5:5. The whole lifetime of Adam was 930 years. Then he died. Okay. So basically, it's the amount of kids he had. See, how is there a way to know that's how long they lived? Yeah, see, I don't, because that would be the same thing as I'm saying Adam was 10,000 years old. Evidence of degradation in the Bible. Let's find out. There is evidence of genome degradation in human biology, ancient samples. Oh, in the See, I don't see. One of the investigations concludes was that the human genome began to rapidly diversify not more than 5,000 years ago. This observation closely agrees with a biblical timeline of post flood human diversification. Yet another study, this one published in the journal Nature, exceeded even more extensive data, unintentionally confirmed that the recent human history described in Genesis. Differences in human DNA can be characterized across populations and ethnic groups, usually using a variety of techniques, one of which important informative genetic techniques. Yeah, I don't get that part. According to the Bible, pre-flood world. Yes, he doesn't really explain it. Man, in its infinite wisdom, has also monkeyed around with the biblical text. That is a study and off in of itself. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, 'cause I was gonna say, Gigi, I did nothing in here was like kind of like saying like a Bible verse that would have. I didn't even think about it. I was so wrapped up in being. Anyone did want to join, you are more than welcome to. I do apologize. I was going to put it out there a long time ago. I just got wrapped up in what we were doing. Um, let's go ahead in the poll. And the results were 63% of you said yes, Duffy should be pressed on his next steps, basically. I agree with that very, very much. Catch up. And all the days that Adam lived were 993 days he died. Yeah, I read that one. Sean. Sean says, what if the Bible was written for alien beings and we just found it on Earth? Well, I will say this. I do know for a fact that if aliens are ever found, like, we found aliens, like it's not like we don't know, like we found aliens. That whole Anunnaki story becomes real as fuck. Right? I think we should too. Wait, but are we talking the Anunnaki or are we talking ancient aliens? Because if it's ancient aliens, that shit was crap. That was really bad. But I also do know that there is a actual belief and faith that is based on that. Where, correct me if I'm wrong. Basically, um, basically aliens created us. Wait. God created the aliens, created us. The aliens created us to do their bidding and left. That's not possible. You don't understand. I talk to people that think the earth is flat, Gigi. Opinions on things don't matter to me. That's the best part about it. But what I am going to do for a second, I'm going to let my dogs outside, and to do so, I'm going to play some music so that you guys don't just sit here in quietness. So give me about 2 minutes, and I'll be right back. All right. Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys holding out for me. Let's head let the doggies out. Yeah. So we're getting back to this. Yeah, we should absolutely do that, Gigi. You're more than welcome here all the time. I would like to have a conversation about aliens and the biblical alien stories and stuff. Um, let me see. Go back. Looking at the last young Earth creationist evidence. Hang on. Let's do the last one. Okay, so the last one is population growth. According to the evolutionary timeline, human diverged from a chimp-like ancestor 3 to 6 million years ago. In that case, there ought to be many billions of people living today or buried in the fossil record. With the world's human population now approaching 8 billion, the evolutionary story falls completely short. There should be more. Wait, what? According to the evolutionary timeline, human diverged from a chimp like ancestor 3 to 6 million years ago. In that case, there ought to be many billions of people living today. With the world's human population now approaching 8 billion. Am I reading that wrong? Is it me? In that case, there ought to be many billions of people living today or buried in fossil records. With the world's human population now approaching 8 billion, in that case, there ought to be many billions of people living today or buried in fossil record. With the world's human population now approaching 8 billion, the evolutionary story falls completely short. There should be many more of us. That doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, basically, nerd, that's what I'm thinking how it would work. Okay, so as it turns out, a biblical model of Earth being repopulated from Noah's 3 sons and their 3 wives starting about 4,500 years ago fits perfectly with the number of people living today. In 2015, Robert Carter and Chris Hardy used computer modeling for population growth that included multiple variables like age of reaching maturity, minimum child spacing between births, and age of menopause. They also factored in possibilities like polygamy, twinning rates, the risk of death according to age. Their conclusion was that it is trivial, no great difficulty to obtain the current world population from 3 founding couples in 4.5 millennia. There are 6 biological. No, I don't agree with that one. They're not factoring in wars. They're not factoring in disease. Those are issues that I'm seeing with it. But again, like I said, I think the conversation of is there a God is different from this subset of is there a God, right? Because this is just a group that believes in God, but has their views, their interpretations of God and what God thinks and says and why, or how we come to those conclusions is a better way. But I have a question for the people that do believe in a creator. Why couldn't a creator use evolution in his creation? Why couldn't it be a process of it? Um, that's probably one of the most confusing parts for me right now. Being that if God is so powerful, God created it. Why can't He? Like, better yet, why can't Earth and the universe be as old as it is? Because God created it that long ago, and He just didn't create people until later on. Like, I don't. Basically, what I'm asking is, I don't understand why evolution is such a problem. Or is that just like, it doesn't make sense? I don't see why God had to have made it only 10,000 years ago. Why it couldn't have been millions of or billions of years ago? Because He's been around. Everything didn't just happen to start like that. I don't know. Kind of confuses me a little bit. Like there's other stuff, like the DNA stuff is so over my head. I don't even want to try to figure that out. Trying to. Oh, if anybody wants the link, this is the website I've been using or that I've been going through. It will be in the description as well. Because if you don't, they get all mad at you for it. Let's see. Well, the Bible describes a sort of evolution in Genesis. After Adam and Eve ate the forbidden fruit, He changed them into be mortal. I don't know if that's I don't think that's evolution either, Sean. But remember, evolution doesn't even talk about the beginning. Evolution is a process that happens far after any beginning had started. And I just and um and one of the biggest things that kind of uh, pushes me away is the flood thing. I don't know of any evidence that shows a world flood, uh, which would be something that we'd be able to tell. Um, I have done 30 years at least of construction, doing backfills, R&Rs. R&Rs is basically when you dig down looking for hard pan. And I've dealt with sediment layers. I've had to study sediment layers. I've worked with soils engineers that do these things and explain these things. And there really isn't a turbulent sediment layer that is consistent around the world. That would be the only that would be what would be need to be found for me to believe that there was possibly a world flood at any time. Let's see what people are saying. It said it was never about creating evolved superhumans. Adam and Eve were created perfect. The earth and everything in it was perfect. The fall of man brought the curse of all of creation. What evolved? A lot of creationists include cosmology into evolution. Evolution is their blanket term for everything they don't like about science. Okay, I see. After you watch the movie, maybe you'll view the change about the flame. Yeah, I'll watch. I'm definitely going to watch it. And I mean, and but I've also watched a lot of other things. And again, I think you said that earlier when I was reading something from a study from this website, and you were like, "That's just some guy's interpretation of what it said." And I fully understand that the stuff that I have watched probably falls into that same category for creationists explaining the flood, and they probably just didn't explain it very well. Evolution is adaptation to the ecological niche. It has nothing to do with becoming superhuman. Very true. Yeah, I look at evolution as being millions of adaptations that your body has changed, has done. Um, Situations like there are a lot of evidences for evolution. Is pretty much where the crux of what I'm saying is. Um, Whether it's you said it earlier, nerd. Whether they're studying back E. coli, because E. coli does have a very rapid um, reju- rejuven, rejuvenating. I don't know the word I'm trying to figure out. It breeds. It makes more of faster than everything, pretty much, and so we're able to rapidly see different generations form and evolve, mutate, however you want to explain it. Um, there's another study. It's the Italian wall lizards. These are examples of what I consider, I'm not sure if it's exactly the right term, but rapid evolution, induced evolution, I guess you would say, because people are putting these species in the situation for it to happen rather than um, what is understood it to be. For instance, these Italian wall lizards were put on an island. They were forced to mingle. They were forced to breed, and their offsprings, after I think the second generation, started to have genetic differences, which would be classified as evolutionary change. Um, Little things like that show evidence for me that evolution is a process that is happening. Um, when we start talking about human evolution, it's going to be a lot harder to do because um, my main point of it is ethically, we can't um, speed up evolution in humans because then we would be breaking a lot of ethical laws, right? We would be doing a lot of stupid shit to people. Um, because what ends up happening is you would basically be either making lesser than humans or like you guys were talking about in the chat, superhumans. And ethically, the medicine can't do that. That's kind of why, excuse me, it's kind of why like human cloning is not allowed, even though they do it, because the ethics behind it. It's a lot of why this what is it, CRISPR conversation is a big thing because ethically, all the kids that are born already will have to be commingle with these perfect kids, and would it be ethically okay? Stuff like that. Um, but yeah, evolution, as far as I can tell, is absolutely a process. And more importantly, it's absolutely a process that I think happens regardless of if you believe in a God or not. And more importantly, evolution isn't Darwin. Um, the Darwin evolution is his his take on it, but there's a lot of other evolutionary theories that kind of coincide with these things. Excuse me. Even Darwin didn't start this. Darwin took um, work from his grandfather, who worked with somebody else when they were talking about these things. It hasn't always just been a Darwin thing, or even more importantly, a creation thing. Evolution doesn't talk about how things are created. Look out for lizards, Real says. I like reptiles. But yeah, that's one of the things. Like I said, um, I am. Like I said, I definitely am open to is there a God or not. Um, I won't. I won't get into it, but there are things that definitely weigh on my brain about this topic, and does keep me absolutely open to it. It's just there's not enough for me. I do see where a lot of it is coming from, but I don't see enough of it for a conversion. I don't know what you call it, conversion. But hey, like I said, I am willing to say that I don't know. Right? Most will say there is no. I don't think there is. I don't know. That's as good as it really gets. No modern biologists are Darwinianists. The theory has gone well beyond Darwinian. Yes, yeah, big time, huge. that's also the other big factor. I was actually having this conversation last night where it was you guys, like a lot of people that denounce it go or and coin it everything on him. It's like, when did Darwin come up with that theory? Because then was then, and now with technology and understanding, and even more importantly, the amount of people looking into it for clues, their compounding evidence far exceeds what Darwin tried to explain, big time. There is no new thing under the sun. History is repeating itself at an alarming rate. There are things are coming upon this earth that will blow the mind of man. I agree, absolutely. Things that we had no clue was going on. Uh, just theories that are coming up and being proven to be true. And I think that's another big thing. I think, how about this? What do you think your interpretation of God would be without religion? Yeah, it was way too soon. I would argue that. I think history does repeat itself. But there's a difference because history and the reality of what aren't the same. I would consider the Bible to be a historical book, right? Ask which question. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm smoking, so I don't remember what question I asked that you were referring to. What part of history doesn't repeat itself? Earth has cycles. Species have cycles. What man does on this earth seems to be repeating. That'd be my question. What part is not repeating? Okay, let's define it. How loosely are we using the word repeating? Because if we're using it in a general sense, it is, right? If we're doing a hard, stringent, fucking like it'd be like, okay, it's not repeating. This has never happened before. But on the local scale of everyone's lives, it is all the time. Sean says, I wouldn't consider the Bible a historical book. It does have some historical aspects to it, but other parts definitely are not historical. Um, I say you're wrong. What's the difference between a history book you read in school and the Bible when it comes to how it gets to your eyes to read? Because again, to me, the Bible is a spoken word. I think it is, and so is history. Um, we've seen this in history. Uh, a religion that is not as strong goes into war. Their history of religion is wiped out. Another religion takes over. It's talking about past times. That's history. If I told you about if I wrote down what I did yesterday and you read it tomorrow, you're reading history. So in that sense, it doesn't need to be a historically accurate historical book, We have a lot of those. 90% of the books and history books we read as kids were inaccurate. Shown that because they're not taught today, they were revised in a lot of them. So in that sense, I would, like I said, Sean, I think the Bible is a historical book. Anything that talks about the past, I would consider that. All right, let's see what else I can look up. Evolutionary dinosaur myth debunked. Myth 1. Dinosaurs evolved millions of years ago. According to the evolutionary story, the first official dinosaurs didn't show up until Upper Triassic System, conventionally dated approximately 230 million years ago. This scenario is built on the evolutionary idea that the Earth's sedimentary rock layers are laid down slowly and progressively over periods of about 550 or 540 million years, which is actually very true. It's very slow. The flood was a progressive event that began with the barrel of marine creatures in the first three mega sequences. This deposits of the strata took place on the first 40 days of the flood and included the Cambrian of the Devonian system rocks next to the. Yeah, see that? None of this makes even any sense. Here's why. Hang on, let me show you. This part. The flood was a progressive event that began with the burial of the marine creatures in the first three mega sequences. The deposits of the strata took place the first 40 days of the flood. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that, nerd. I just read this first paragraph right here. And then the flood part. I'll put the link in the chat so you guys have it. Yeah, so the problem is Earth, in this scenario, this scenario is built on the evolutionary idea that Earth's sedimentary rock layers are laid down slowly and progressively over a period of 540 million years. Something very important about this. Evolution doesn't build the scenario about sediment rock layers. It uses geology to help find these events and species of fossils, but it is not evolutionary. Doesn't build Earth sedimentary rock layers model. That's not how it works. It is because of where they find them that they're able to better date them and have a better idea of the geometric sediment rock that does get laid. But those are very much so separate of each other. According to young Earth creation math, if the flood was true, the flood would have vaporized the granitic crust of the Earth. You heard that right. The Earth would be a ball of plasma. I don't understand how that would be a thing, Don. Not really sure. What other myths are there? Dinosaurs were warm-blooded. In the most recent see, this is the problem. In the most recent Jurassic Park movie, dinosaurs are portrayed as warm-blooded animals frolicking in cold, snowy environments. At one point in the film, a large feathered raptor, like theropod, even dives into an ice covered lake and swims around. This idea comes not from the fact that science, but rather than the evolutionary myth that warm blooded birds supposedly evolved from dinosaurs. Could dinosaurs have been warm blooded? Okay. Um, damn it, it's a movie. The damn movie. Stop it. Stop it now. Second, I will look this up because that is actually pretty badass. So this is what that was speaking on. Let's go to the images, which I think is actually pretty badass. Stupid paywalls. I'm just trying to find a better picture. Open image, a new tab. There we go. So this is what they found. It's a fossil, and it has the fossil evidence of feathers. Now, if this is found, then it gives credence to think that some dinosaurs, which is stated, some dinosaurs do have feathers, right? So this part where they were talking about the feathers. What other myths are there? Okay, dinosaurs had feathers. The third evolutionary dinosaur myth is that virtual or variety of dinosaurs had feathers or proto feathers, sometimes called dino fuzz. This claim is often used to undergird the paradigm that dinosaurs evolved into birds. But before we start putting feathers on dinosaurs, we have to ask how they could have preened feathers. Birds spend a lot of their time fixing their feathers so they are functional. Penguins included. Without a bird's beak, how could the dinosaurs maintain feathers? Instead, modern philologists also convinced that birds are dinosaurs and that vice versa, they don't even consider this issue. That is insane because this animal has a beak like face. So that's probably how they did that. Here's another one. Beak. Oh, okay, this is the dino fuzz. I mean, I think that's the confusing part now. So then how do you distinguish between what this stuff is versus what creation thinks it is? Like I said, that's the confusing part. All right, let's see what the next one is. Dinosaurs had bird brains. I'm not even going to read it at all because I don't think there's any evidence at all that could ever be said about the size of their brains, besides at best skull size. But as far as I know, skull size isn't a good equivalent to brain size. Conclusions. The scientific evidence strongly shows that all the different kinds of dinosaurs appeared suddenly in the rock record without any previous ancestors. Um, that part is actually true, but I think that's more because what do you expect to live before that? There are fossils which still contain soft tissue. Biomolecules speak directly to their being buried in the global flood about 4,500 years ago. Let's make something very clear about this. Um, there has been apparently one fossil observation of this. Um, and even then, I kind of have questions about the chain of command, going to parties and letting public see it, blah blah blah. But yeah, they are not finding soft tissue and biomolecules in all fossils. That is not true. Not true at all. According to dinosaur autonomy and morphology, compare favorably with that of a living reptiles, showing they were most likely cold-blooded, and the lack of evidence for feathers combined with the reptile shaped brain, which again, not possible to know, um, demolishes the claims of bird evolution. This negation of dinosaur bird evolution is further biosphere by fact that birds appear in the rock record before raptor-like dinosaurs. Or is that true? I don't think that's true. Do birds? No, the oldest bird fossils are about 150 million years ago, which is younger than the age of dinosaurs. However, birds are thought to be lineage of flying dinosaurs and survived the mass extinction of dinosaurs 66 million years ago. So that would also shows that in that claim that it's not all dinosaurs came from birds or all birds came from dinosaurs. It was that certain species of dinosaurs had feathers and could have been the evolutionary ancestors to some birds. That's what I'm getting from that. She says a squirrel dies in your backyard. Does it fossilize? No, it turns into dust eventually. What caused this fossil? Why are some found where they were? That's a very good question. Fossilization is the same process as like petrification. What it needs is to be sealed. The least amount of air, the least amount of atmospheric conditions to affect that object, they will become what's called preserved, and these different methods. Fossilization is the extended portion of damn, the words on the tip of my tongue, and I know I just said it. Petrification is when the organic matter decays and becomes non-organic. So when we find a dinosaur fossil, it is the organic matter that has decayed into the rock and become non-organic. So when we find a petrified tree, if you were to split that tree, you would see the organisms becoming rock, like it's called a word. If it becomes hard, the organic matter decays and becomes non-organic. That's the same process. What it needs is to be sealed, preserved, more importantly. 99.999 out of 1,000 more nines percent of anything that dies does dissolve. It does go away. That is why we have so many gaps, because the process of being preserved so well is extremely rare. That's why, like, if they find 1,000 T-Rexes, that would be evidence to them that there were millions of T-Rexes, because you're not going to expect to find all of them. You're only going to expect to find the ones in those outlier, rare scenarios where they're preserved. a very good example of this, I've been there a few times, is the La Brea tar pits in Los Angeles. It's a situation where animals were caught in the tar pit, kind of like quicksand, and then they would be basically, buried in the tar pits. And because no air, no atmospheric conditions are able to affect them, they are preserved extremely well. So what ends up happening is when they discovered these tar pits, they were able to extract fucking woolly mammoths, saber-toothed tiger, California bears, the whole nine, in extremely preserved situations. Like I know they have a California bear, which is, I think, almost twice the size of a grizzly, on display there, and it's basically as it was pulled out. So those are situations where being preserved works really well. What is up, Sean? How you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Pretty damn good. Trying to figure out this whole religion thing.
Religion is for fools.
Is it though?
Yeah.
I think it can be for fools.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the entire thing is, controlling the masses. If you can control the masses through teaching them peaceful processes and stuff like that, they're much more complacent. And if you tie in everything to the religion, you can do basically whatever you want in the name of that religion.
True. But at the same time, you kind of have to have some kind of semblance of order, right?
I mean, sort of, right? Like Scientology is a religion, quote unquote, religion, that doesn't really have the same, I don't know how you'd put it, I guess, pull as Christianity or anything, but is still considered a religion, and people follow it to the end of their days. They die for their religion.
That's true.
And that was made up by an author.
Well, I think that's kind of where we've really gotten to this whole thing, right? Everything we're talking about is written by man.
Mm-hmm.
And that was always like the first contradiction that confused me. It was, the Bible is the word of God. Don't trust man. Huh?
Yeah. It's the word of God written by man. Or man's interpretation of God's word, I guess.
And that's the confusing part to me. That's the
Yeah.
real confusing part.
Yeah. And once you start diving into that, then you have to start questioning, okay, if these were all, if these were the hand of God coming through these people, are you sure it was all of them? Could one guy just like have made up whatever he wanted, and they're like, that sounds pretty good. We should add that to the Bible. And he's like, oh yeah, God spoke to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've done a lot of mushrooms, and I would say there's a few. There's quite a few.
Like all of Revelations,
Okay, so
one bad trip.
So I think Gigi asked a question. The La Brea tar pits, the oldest fossil at the La Brea tar pits is between 40,000 and 8,000 years old. So anything that was found there, we could confidently say was been around for a very, very long time prior to that.
Yeah, and that's not even the oldest that they've found, or full skeletons or full bodies or anything.
No.
They just found one where they said something like, oh man, now I'm going to have to remember. I want to say they said they found organs, complete organs and stuff as well, which would be like one of the first that they've ever found like that.
You're not talking about the mud fossil guy, right?
I'm not sure. Like, because I read articles or I see headlines and stuff, and I'm like, "Ooh, that's interesting." I'll remember that, and then I don't remember the entire thing.
That happens a lot for me too. Because the problem is I do know of a guy like who the Mud Fossil University is.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I, I remember when he said that he found giant lungs and toes, and he sent them in to get tested
Oh,
for DNA and all
yeah.
that stuff. And he
No,
came back
no.
saying, yeah, he came back saying that
Yeah.
they found DNA and all that shit. And then during that live stream, he had the paper that they sent him in response to the stuff he sent them, and in the paper on the live stream, it fucking said that there was no DNA or organic matter to to test.
No,
Oh, it was fucking amazing.
this one was like last week. I think it did. They were talking about it, and I can't remember exactly. I'll have to look it up, but it was something. It was something along the lines of they found the most intact to date or something like that.
Of a dinosaur?
Dinosaur. Yeah, I think it was a dinosaur.
Let's see.
That one's 2001.
That's of a mummy. Hadrocephala lived 80 million years ago, late in the Cretaceous period. It's a famous dinosaur because it's the most complete dinosaur skeleton unearthed anywhere in the world. When it was discovered, that's 1858.
Um, Try looking in the news.
A month ago, largest, most intact Stegosaurus fossil ever found. Man walking his dog, intact dinosaur skeleton.
Maybe
That's
that's what it was that I saw. Could be.
this top one
Yeah. No, no. The man walking his dog.
in France. Man walking his dog in France came upon a prehistoric discovery, nearly intact dinosaur bones. How the fuck does a guy just walk upon intact dinosaur bones?
And where did he find it? Like just out in the middle of nowhere? You know?
Oh, Jesus. He's a fucking paleontologist.
Oh, well. There you go.
That's what he does. That's fucked up. That was such a hit. That's a hit piece right there.
Shouldn't they say paleontologist? You know, not just some
Walk,
dude.
yeah, that's some fucked up shit right there. Really? Oh yeah, by the way, he was at work.
I went to work with my dog and I found this.
Man smoking a cigarette finds dinosaur. Like what the fuck?
Oh man, now I'm gonna have to go through the history and figure out this most intact.
Oh, you said earlier the Bible wasn't a historical book.
Mm-hmm.
What would you define as a historical book?
A historical book. Well, yeah. So as a historical book, there are pieces of history in it, and tie.
You just cut out.
Is that better?
Yeah, you're good now.
All right. Yeah. So all in all, like it does hold historical time periods and places in that book. But all in all, that is a story. You know, even using real places and real people, you can still write a story that doesn't necessarily have to do with history. Um, and the Bible isn't really there to tell the history, it's there to tell a story. Whereas a historical book, the one that is dedicated to a historical piece, is there to tell the history of something, regardless of the story, whether the story is good or not.
Would you consider Columbus and what we read in our school books to be a historical book?
I would consider, well, I mean, my history book in school coming up was probably a little bit different than your history book because I went to a private school and mine was centered around the Bible. So mine was a little bit different. But, you know, all in all, I would say that the story of Columbus, the one that we were told as kids, is okay for kids. Does it really dive into the history of everything? Not really. It just, you know, kind of gives a brief overview. Um, there have been studies that were done on that entire Mayflower or not Mayflower, but the Nina Maria and Nina Pinta and Santa Maria coming across, and I think that those would be historical because they are looking at the facts and, you know, good or bad, this is what happened. You know, stuff
I
that
can see what you're
you
saying.
can find the evidence for. You know, like there probably was a King David. There probably was uh, you know, Moses of some sort. But were they, you know, inspired by God, or were they touched by God, or did Moses actually wander around the desert for X amount of days or whatnot? Who knows? You know, we only have that one piece to go off of, and nothing else to really back it up.
So so what you're saying is you can have a history book with historical facts in it, but
A, a non-historical book with historical facts in it. Yes.
would you classify the Bible like that? Because it does
Yeah.
give accounts.
Yeah. I would say that, like I said, it's a storybook, but with historical facts mixed in, right? Like, um, uh, there are certain, you know, like certain fictitious books that you can find out there that use real places, use real people, and, you know, make up stories to surround those things.
Would you classify a historical book as something that doesn't change?
Mm, no, because some things in history we only have a little bit of knowledge about, but then we find out more knowledge. And sometimes that knowledge kind of either is contradictory or has, uh, you know, something completely different that we don't understand yet. You know, but um, historical facts can be added upon, and certain things we could have twisted. You know, like you know, so and so was murdered. Well, so and so wasn't murdered. He had committed suicide. This is the note that we found where he committed suicide, and that was found 20 years later or something. You know.
So would you say how do I phrase this? Would you say that then how would you say that a historical book is based on the facts if the facts aren't facts for sure?
Well, they're based on the facts as we know them. Just like the history book that you had as a kid. You know, Columbus sailed across the ocean and found America, right? You know, to break it down that simple. And that's pretty much how the history books for kids are written. But then when you start diving into it, you know, Columbus didn't even land in America, right? You know, so you know, is the history book that you read as a kid fact? Yes and no.
But I think that fact is dictated by the what I consider, history is written by the winners. I think
Hmm.
even historical facts are perceived by the winners as well. Um, the Holocaust is a perfect example of that. We have Holocaust deniers and people that believe the Holocaust happened, right? Both sides. Um, there are facts, yet there are two sides. I think anything that has wavering sides kind of goes against what could be a historical fact.
Right. Well, you know, like the Holocaust in general. I mean, we have a lot of information concerning it. Now, I think the numbers are like 68 million people or something, if I remember the amount of numbers of the people that Hitler killed or whatnot in the concentration camps. But what if that number was actually 69 or 70, right? Does it really make it, does it, I hate to say, does it really make a difference? Because yes, the murder, you know, murdering that many people, yes, it makes a difference no matter what. But in the grand scheme of things, is it historically wrong to say that those are the numbers? I wouldn't say so. I'd say it's an average that we can come up with because we're talking millions, you know.
But then we're definitely going away from the fact side of what makes a historical book so historical.
Well, just like in the historical facts of certain things, right? Like you know, when we carbon date something, we give an approximation for the ages of certain things, but we don't necessarily give the exact date. You know, wasn't the 1842? It was between, you know, 1700s and early 1900s. So we leave ourselves a window because, you know, we could be wrong.
So then, okay, I can see that. I can see where it's coming from. I still kind of think the Bible would fall under those lines if the equivalents of the two were comparable. Um, Only because I've seen our facts not be facts or unfact checkable. Is that a good way of saying it?
Unfact checkable.
I like that one. I'm gonna coin that one. I'm gonna write
Yeah,
that one down. Unfact checkable.
put it on a t-shirt, sell it.
There you go. You think I'm kidding? I wrote that down.
No, I believe it. But
Uh,
so like in the instance of the Bible, okay, in the very beginning, right? There's no timeline. There's just you know, there is nothing, and then there's the earth, and where there's God, and then there's the earth. But there's no descriptive timeline to go off of. So historically, you could say that that's just nothing, right? That doesn't give you any sort of date or timeline to go off of. And that
wait. You're talking about the creation of the earth,
right, right.
but then didn't it take 6 days?
Yeah, sure. What day was that?
Monday.
Uh huh. Uh huh. Sure. So
I remember because Tuesday was the day I remember the most.
yeah. um, but then, you know, afterwards it goes into Adam and Eve, and you know, and then eventually moves on through Cain and Abel, and yada yada yada. But the timeline doesn't really show up. It doesn't give you a date as to when these things were supposed to happen or anything like that. So, um, could you say that's history, or would you say that that's just a story someone told you? You know, because there's no time to it.
So then I guess it would be, how good is your story to make people believe it's history?
Right.
Well, I'd say religion has a really good fucking story then, because
Well, I mean, it's a really long book, so before, and most people like I remember, I was sitting down a um uh with a guy at Dunkin' Donuts at like 2 in the morning, and he just moved into town, and he's taking over one of the churches, and he's going to be giving them their services and everything, and and him and I were discussing it, and and I said, like, do most people just like start believing as soon as they start reading the Bible, or what, in your years of doing this? And he's like, well, I tell people that they have to read the entire thing before they can start making judgments on this. And I was like, well, if you're telling them that, I mean, that's a long book. So, you're kind of like pushing them towards it, and whether they have reservations about it or not, you only want to deal with those at the end. But if they have questions about the chapters and stuff, how do you address that? And he's like, well, at the end, they can bring all the questions. And I was like, yeah, but that doesn't answer the questions, because they're going to forget about Genesis when they're on Revelations. And the gist of it is that his idea was finish the word before you start making judgments about it. And I was like, all right, whatever.
well, that's what I was saying earlier. It's like, for me, uh, I've read parts of the Bible, and it's extremely confusing.
Hmm.
Extreme. I couldn't imagine reading the whole Bible without help and being able to take something from it. And in
But
any kind of time, right?
yeah,
Because I would be reading the Bible as a non-believer, and if I read through it as a non-believer, my interpretations are coming from a non-believing standpoint, and I think that the help part would be the most important.
yeah,
Shit, Gigi helped me earlier when we were reading the stuff about what is perceived as the description of dinosaurs. Took me I had to read it 6 times and get help to get where it could be perceived that way, just for that.
yeah.
So I think that idea of reading the whole Bible before that'd be bad. That's not a good idea at all.
Yeah, I didn't agree with his approach, because I figured that if he really wanted people to join up, which maybe it was just me he was talking to, because he probably didn't want me to join up. This was a 2 a.m. conversation at Dunkin' Donuts, so and the bar was right across the street, so maybe he figured like I was coming from the bar or something, which I was not, but I had been drinking. um, all in all, like, the book is confusing, from the get go, because if you don't understand the idea behind it, that there is an all powerful creator out there or anything, then you'll never get it, you know, and then it's not really until you get up to the talks about Jesus that the idea of being saved and stuff actually comes about. I think that's why most of the pastors will start with the New Testament when they're bringing people in, because that's the one that that's the good part of the Bible, where you actually have redemption.
Reading the chats.
But you had brought up something about the preservation of the dinosaurs and stuff, and that and you brought up um, the oil pits and the other places that they find these people, or find the dinosaurs, woolly mammoths at least. The frozen ice is where they found uh, you know
Mm.
these animals trapped in ice.
Yeah, they found what's it called, the caveman.
Yeah, a few of them, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it right now. That shit is crazy. Trying to find it, but all I'm seeing is fucking replicas of it. There it is. Oops. This is the Iceman that was found. That's crazy. That was died around 3,300 BC.
He looks good for his age.
Pretty damn good. Wonder what kind of lotion he used. Skin looks magnificent.
Just become frozen in ice. It'll look good on you.
I don't know what the hell this site is. Oh, there you go. You got 3D imagery of it. Which doesn't mean no
Ooh,
good right now.
you need 3D glasses for that, huh?
Apparently.
Wait, he has tattoos on him too?
Yeah. Whoa. Damn.
That's some
Yeah.
amazing detail in those pictures, right?
That is insane. Oh, that's creepy. This little shriveled sack. This poor guy must have been really cold.
I was in the pool.
I was in a block of ice, asshole. That's crazy.
He was only 5 foot
Did you,
3.
did you know that they were bringing back the mammoth?
Really?
You didn't know about this?
No. I knew
Okay,
they had
so
talked about it, but I didn't know they actually went and started.
yes, they have started it. It is badass. Is this the one? Yep. Yeah, they're gonna bring it back.
A
Let's
vital
see.
defender of the earth? What? What's it gonna go around and like kill all the humans now, or?
Now they're gonna bring back regrowth. That's what they really think it's gonna bring back regrowth and further diversity. But what's really gonna happen is the same shit that happened with wolves.
Yeah.
They're gonna put them somewhere and they're gonna fucking decimate the population.
Yeah, and grow to monstrous sizes too.
Let's see if that was. Trying to find the actual website. Maybe that was it. They've stepped up their website labs. And for anyone who wants this link, news. That's what we want.
$2027. I'll be right back.
Colossal, a new bioscience and genetic engineering company, has grand plans
to resurrect the woolly mammoth, you heard me right, and return it back to the Arctic.
Oh, hell yeah! I'm gonna get a mammoth.
They want to repopulate the Siberian tundra with woolly mammoths, like that movie, made from modified elephant DNA. They're doing this to help the environment. Do you think Jeff Goldblum will be in charge of them?
Lead scientist and co-founder of Colossal, George Church,
Is teamed up with this company, Colossal.
Can you bring back the woolly mammoth? Because I would love to see one. I'd love a woolly steak. Can we get one?
Yeah.
Your new startup, aptly named Colossal, just raised $50 million.
You guys are the guys who are going to bring the woolly mammoth back, right?
Yeah, that's the plan. That's cool, right? You want to rebuild the ecosystem, but they want to do it by bringing back the woolly mammoth.
They have assembled enough DNA
to genetically resurrect a woolly mammoth by 2027.
This fetus will eventually reach 200 pounds before birth.
You know, I miss woolly mammoths. Bring back woolly mammoths.
That is crazy. That is fucking crazy. I know you said you're going to be right back, Sean, but I think I'm going to go ahead and end this one out. I think I'm all talked out for the moment. And I want to look up that movie that Gigi suggested, The Ark in the Darkness. I think I'm going to watch that tonight, actually. It's not that I don't have more to say. It's just I just hit a wall of talking. Let's see. Was gonna play one more Witsit thing, but yeah, let's do that. So this is Witsit, the Witsit Duffy interview. Duffy had asked him about circumnavigating. I'll close it out with that. I don't even have a rant for today. And then it'll probably be my intro. If you're there, Sean, and you want to just close out with something real quick, more than welcome to. But if you're not, I'm going to start playing.
Yeah, no, just real quick. I do appreciate the talks about the Bible and historical documents and things like that, and also woolly mammoths are cool. I wouldn't put Jeff Goldblum in charge of them though.
For real. Yeah, I want to do more talk about this. I want to. This is like I said, this is a topic that does matter to me. I do not believe in a creator, but it does hold significance in my life to whether or not there is. I would probably be more willing to talk about it in private with somebody or individuals asking what I mean. I'm just not comfortable talking about it on a live stream. There are people that know, but yeah. That's as far as I'll go with that. But yeah, so it does matter to me. It is something that I want to know more about, so that I don't just have this "I don't believe in creator" idea. Um, it's definitely going to reaffirm my beliefs that there isn't, and or open it up to that there could be, I guess, is how I look at it. But yeah, it's something that matters. So I do want to have more of these conversations. There is a young earth creationist that I was talking to last night that I'd love to get over here. I just didn't have time to message him or anything. So I do want to get a lot of different points of view of this and how it works. But it's going to be a long term thing.
Well, let me ask you something real quick. You don't necessarily believe in a creator. You do believe in aliens, right? Like not
I
like
believe.
little green men from like Mars, but like there are beings that could be more than us.
Loaded question. Okay. I do believe there's life out off of Earth. If they are visiting us, they are more advanced. But technically, the way I think about it is that it could be some type of living organism that isn't even a human that I would still classify as an alien. I think we humanize aliens too much.
Right. Yeah. No, I would agree. Because like the life form is going to be dictated by its environment.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be, mankind. Our evolution is going to be completely different than something that grows up in a not oxygen rich environment or something like that. Or the evolutionary chain could have swayed so that they didn't have a need for legs or anything else. Hell, for all we know, they could be all just giant worms. But we don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's the most honest approach. We don't know. What does it say? Damn, completely forgot what I was about to say just now. That's crazy. We're definitely going to talk about it more because I definitely want to know more about it. It is very interesting, whether you believe it or not. For the question, the best answer I can give is I don't know. The best answer anyone can give is I don't know.
It's the most honest answer.
Yeah. Now we're going to do that. I think I'm going to set it up. I'm going to do some more research into it because I know about the Anunnaki, and I know that's where you're driving it to. I do want to talk about that. I think that it's very interesting. I think, and this is going to sound weird. I think of all these beliefs with currently how things are, it is the closest to showing evidence for it than any other religion. I mean, there's more accounts for UFO sightings and alien sightings than there are God. And if their story is how it worked, where they created us to do their bidding, and I'm telling you, if we find aliens, that's the religion that's going to take over. They're all going to be like, "I told you so." Yeah. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start playing. I'm going to play, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and just play. We're going to have more of these conversations. Gigi, Robert, I want to know more. It's not a situation where I'm just going, it's not true, because I don't know. I can only take the evidence that I'm given and kind of work with that and see what happens. But other than that, I really don't, I can't definitively say there is or isn't. And that's kind of why I don't really debate it either. I don't debate if there's a God or not, because I will always fucking lose, because I will always end up saying I don't know. That's all there is to it. I'm going to play the Witsit circumnavigation stuff from that interview, and then it will be shortly after my interview. Shawn, I do appreciate, or the interview that Duffy and Whitsitt had. Shawn, I do appreciate you being here, my friend. And
Well,
definitely
thanks
hope
for
to come up
having me.
on another one. Absolutely,
Yeah, for sure.
absolutely. Enjoy this, and then I will talk to you guys around. I'll probably see you a little bit later on over at Gems. All right, let's post this up.
On a flat Earth, if you go south, you can't just keep going and come back to where you started. On a globe, you should be able to theoretically just keep going just like you do east-west. Logistically, it would be tricky, right? You're going to have to know exactly where you are. You're going to have to verify where you are and verify accuracy of cardinal direction. But anyway, if you continued south, you'd pop back up going north on the other side of the ball, which would be exclusive to a globe as far as I can tell.
Okay, so would, like, obviously east to west, they have to stop and land, right? So are you allowing for that on the north-south?
Sure, yeah. Like if you went to Antarctica and landed and fueled up or whatever, right? Yeah, like I said, logistically it is tricky. Like I'll be the first one to say it because flat earthers are not just going to blindly believe anything. So you have to verify where you are, and that's really difficult to verify that you're for sure doing this theoretical straight line across the heart of Antarctica. But again, it's the thing that we're lied to so much about it that I again don't think it. Like someone was given a circumnavigation record for not actually doing it. So it's like, why would you give him the record, the world record for it? So to me, anyway, that I just think I don't know if you agree, but to me, that's a much more definitive proof because that is a that's physically traversing in such a way that is geometrically impossible on a flat Earth. I can think of no way, right? Unless you somehow got turned around and didn't know it, and I don't know.
Yeah, and in what you're saying, do you have to go around the entire globe, or could it just be like South America across Antarctica to Australia?
Yeah, you wouldn't even need to go across the whole globe. Yeah.
Okay.
If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. And that simple statement is the key to science. It doesn't make a difference how beautiful your guess is. It doesn't make a difference how smart you are who made the guess or what his name is. If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong.
Yeah, look, they said that I couldn't do it, so I went and did it. W's only, you know I've been winning. Top of the world, the globe is spinning. If you know, I've been on a mission. Go. Okay, let's get it. Got a little time on my hands like a wristwatch. I don't got time for the brakes and the pit stop. Race through the gridlock, take it like Chris Rock. Right to the chin, still win. Heavy metals like Slipknot. Got the driving, I got tunnel vision. I just hit my stride the way I run the business. I've been making paper like I'm Dunder Mifflin. See the end game, I got one division. Look, I don't ever bother with a critic. Hit him with a chronicle of Riddick. Boom, bottle full of Ritalin. I hit him with a little bit of riddle me this, riddle me that. My bad, fell asleep at the gas. No time to wait though. Elon Musk, I'm trying to bankroll. New Tesla just cause I say so. Electric whip like Ivan Vanko. I just did it. W's only, you know I've been winning. Top of the world, the globe is spinning. If you know, I've been on a mission. Okay, let's get it.
I've been on a mission like totally spice. I'm a baddie, she bad, but she totally nice. Nails are blue and her toes feel like white. They completely match out at the soul for my leg. He knew it for sure, but he left with a why.